Hello, friends. Welcome back to the channel. I am here with Anne Murphy, and we're going to talk about her two near-death experiences today. I would like, before we start, to offer a trigger warning because Anne did go through some pretty significant abuse as a child. She's not going to go into great detail on it, but just to explain how that situation led into her near-death experiences. And I'd also would like to ask that we keep things as kind in the comments as possible, because I know that situations of abuse are extremely difficult to talk about and to hear about. And so let's be as compassionate and understanding towards each other when discussing these topics. Having said that, here's a little bit of background on Anne. She works as a falconer and lives on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. She was adopted at 14 months old and had very difficult and challenging life experiences growing up, while suffering through some extremely abusive situations. During her difficult childhood, she had two profound near-death experiences that have helped her on her journey back to her true self. There have been many other experiences similar to her NDEs that happened spontaneously, and she has also been able to communicate with those who have transitioned since she was a child and has had some interesting experiences assisting some who were stuck to cross over. A book has been written about some of her life experiences and is in the final stages of being edited before being published next winter. So I will, once she gets that book published, if you want to send me the link, I'll put that in the description of these videos so any of my viewers can check that out if you want to. Thank you so much for joining me today, Anne, and welcome.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. I'm so happy to be here. I love your channel, by the way.
Thank
You're
you
doing
so
great
much.
work.
Thank you. I'm so happy to
Spreading the
have you.
love and spreading the light.
Yes, absolutely. So, would you like to start by sharing whatever you would like to about your childhood experiences leading up into your near-death experiences?
Yes. So as you said in the intro, I was adopted when I was 14 months old. And I was adopted into a very dysfunctional home. Um, my adoptive grandfather was a diagnosed sexual psychopath pedophile. And my adoptive father and his twin brother, they ran a child trafficking ring. And so I was trafficked from age 2 into my 20s. So I went through a lot of extreme, horrific situations and lived in that criminal underworld and saw a lot of things that a lot of people wouldn't believe. And it left me with very extreme after effects that I've been working through for many, many years. And at, well, the NDEs happened before age 10. And one of them was through near drowning. And one of them was from a drug overreaction. And it was at the hands of the abusers. And the one, they were trying to get me back because I had stopped breathing after the near drowning. And so they were bagging me, and I was watching this. I had left my body by this point and I was above, and I was watching them try to revive me. And I was just curious. I had no concern. I wasn't like scared or upset in any way. It was just sort of a curiosity to watch this unfolding. And they were becoming very frantic with their efforts to revive me. They were giving me shots, and they were doing the CPR, and they even got the shock. I got shocked and still wasn't coming back. And then they started to talk about where they were going to put my body. And at that point is when I felt a tug. It was like I was being pulled. And it was that, and I didn't have a body anymore, but it kind of felt like the chest area. And it was this real pull, and things started to move very fast. And I was pulled along and still curious, right? And then the light came, and I was pulled toward this light, and I wanted to get there. And then it slowed down as I got closer, everything slowed down. And then there was a being there, two beings of light, and they didn't have form like a person. They it was hard to describe with words. They were just vibration and energy and colors that kept undulating. But the main thing was that it was pure unconditional love that they were made of, and that was receiving my essence. And this light, like, I eventually realized that this light was my own being too, that I was part of this greater light and made of the same thing, like made of the same substance, the same love, this unconditional love. And there was zero judgments, there was no judgments, there was no opinions. It was total acceptance. And like, it was the warmest, complete accepting embrace that I'd never known on my short life, right? And these beings were communicating with me, but everything was with no words. Like, I'm using words to convey as if we used words, but there weren't words. It was like instant communication. And these beings were trying to show me like my life up to then. And we were looking at the things that I had gone through, and they showed me that I had agreed to come into this lifetime and to face this evil on a human scale, this great human evil. And I looked at them, and if I had used words, I was like, well, that's stupid. Why would I do that? Right? Because I was still kind of holding some of the human emotions, and there was still some attachment. But as the near-death experience moved along, that gradually fell off. It fell away. And then I remembered, and it was like, oh, yes, I remember signing up for this. I remember agreeing to this, and that there would be great help for the journey. And so these two beings of light were just they were just helping me to remember what I had signed up for. And the biggest takeaway that stuck with me was the unconditional love and the no judgment. And that was totally opposite of what I'd learned so far on earth, going to church. And it was all about a judgmental God and being sent to hell if you're bad and all that stuff. And so that was not the case. And I saw that for everybody. And they showed me what happens to some people if some people can have like a hellish experience. Like, sometimes there are hellish NDEs. And what I saw was that is when people are still kind of stuck in between the human and they haven't fully let go of all the human stuff, because we're required to drop it all our beliefs, our gender, our thoughts, everything we've identified with, it all goes. And when we return to our true being and our true essence and our true home. And so it was very curious. It was just very fascinating. And I had that feeling in my chest area, if I had a body, of just pure love for all of it, watching all of this, and for seeing these people that were stuck. I just wanted to help, right? And I saw that there were beings surrounding these people, or these stuck souls, and they were being beamed, like this unconditional love and light was being beamed at them constantly to help them awaken out of the loop they were stuck in. And then gradually, after enough time had passed, they woke up out of that loop they were stuck in, which was self-imposed because there's still some egoic structure there. And so there's some belief that they need to be judged, or they think that's the truth. So that happens. It's like a self-created unconscious programming thing. It's not done with awareness, say. So I don't know if that makes sense. They haven't returned to that pure awareness yet, because it was a state of like pure awareness and total acceptance. pure light. It's so hard to find words to convey. But I also saw in that NDE with these light beings that there was no time, like on Earth, where there's time where we measure. And there, everything was just now. It was eternal now. It was all happening simultaneously. Like all the universes, all the different experiences that could be had were all simultaneous. It depended where the light of awareness landed. And you could open wide or you could narrow your awareness down. And I was able to see other lives I'd had. And it was like seeing them all simultaneously. And there was no problem with that. It was like being able to take in everything all at once with no problem, with all the senses, but more senses than with the human body. It was really something. And that was totally normal. It was like, oh, this is reality, right? It was like, that felt more real than here. And it was like returning home. I knew this place. I knew, and it wasn't a place like going to heaven is a place. It was a state of being, is what it felt like. It was returning to a state of being and joining the all that is. I could only describe it like if two words could say what I felt returning to my true essence was I am, were the two words to point to it. It was just this I amness, right? And pure love. And I got to see other experiences on other planets. And there was a very interesting one, this one planet, you didn't have to eat, you absorbed light. It was like the light was around us and we just absorbed it. And we had a clothing, but you created it with your intention. And it was like it was part of you. It was like alive, it was living. And it kind of had a metallic look almost, but it was alive, the colors. And that's how we communicated. We communicated through these colors in the clothing that we created through our intention. And you could have a ship if you wanted that could go anywhere. And it was also created through intention. So it wasn't made out of like metal or something like that. It was like an extension of our being. And through your intention, if you set your intention clear, you could be wherever you wanted instantly. The same time you left was when you arrived. It was all simultaneous. It's amazing. So I saw a lifetime that was that. And there was no war on this planet. It was very high vibration. And they had already kind of moved beyond the lower kind of, if you will, vibrational frequencies. And it's important to make clear that there's no comparison in that state. So everything is accepted completely. Where anybody or anything is at is totally accepted, and it's perfect just the way it is. It's just unfolding precisely. And so there's no competition, there's no comparison, there's no greater than, less than, scorekeeping. It's just any being is just where they're at, and it's perfect. And it's received and perceived and accepted with that same pure grace and love. So I saw a lot on the journey with these two light beings. And so when like them showing me that I had agreed to this, that when I remembered that, it was like, oh yes. And the challenge was for me to remember who we all are. And because I had other lifetimes where I had died in a rage and feeling betrayed and angry and didn't remember who I was or who others were. I was stuck in that egoic kind of judgment stuff. So I guess you get as many chances as you like, right? So this time it was like, I'm really going to try to remember who we all really are. And so when I came back, um, I actually I actually forgot a lot of this for a long time. I remembered like a bit of it. I remembered the light beings. I remembered the love. I remembered um, um, some of what happened, but it came back over time as I needed it because I was still in this horrific situation with abuse, and it just buried everything. And so over time, it revealed itself more and more. And as I was able to process it and assimilate it, and then it helped me through my healing journey. So it was like everything was unfolding beautifully, like just perfectly. But of course, at the time, I didn't think that. I didn't know that. I thought I was like, this is unfair. How could I be going through this? No, I'm completely unloved on this planet. God hates me. Like the universe hates me. Like that's sort of how I felt. I felt completely and utterly abandoned by life and was just hanging on by my fingernails, trying to survive. And then ultimately, I had another NDE that was with a drug reaction. I was given too much of a drug. And again, my breathing stopped. And it was a very similar thing going through trying to be revived, and it wasn't working. And I saw the same light beings again. So it was like they were guides and they were friends. I remembered them. It was like we had this connection, but they were teachers. They were more experienced than me. And so they met me again. And it was the same thing. It was that same love, the same pure unconditional love, the pure awareness, the return to self and the return to source. And it wasn't quite as in depth as the first one. It was shorter, it felt, but it was another reminder of who I really am and where I come from and what's surrounding me and what's surrounding all of us. And again, it was that reiteration that there is no judgment and that there is no hell, there is no punishment. There's not some external God that keeps score and sends people to be punished. It's just, it doesn't work that way that I saw. Yeah, it was just, sometimes people can get stuck in loops. And I saw how some of the people who had been abusing me so horrifically, what had happened to them and how far back this went generationally. And it was almost like this curse that had to be broken, right? And um so they didn't come here and start off and darkened. Things happened. It's not random. And they lost sight of who they are. They forgot who they are. They were stuck in fear and rage and disconnection. And in the NDEs, I had seen that is what evil is. That's where evil comes from. It's funny, evils live backwards, right? So it's kind of like living backwards, and it just evil behavior comes from disconnection and lack and fear and rage and hurt and all these things that we can become cloaked with, kind of like putting stickers on a window. You can't see through that window anymore. You can't see clearly. You just see these stickers. But if you peel the stickers off, there's clarity again. Or the sun, like if there's clouds across the sun, you could be told that the sun is gone and you might believe that, but it's not true. It's still there. It comes back. It's been shining clearly the whole time. So I saw that that's true for all of us. It's just that things get cloaked with these hurt feelings. And so it was a reminder to, when I come back, try to remember that. Like there would be triggers to help me remember that eventually, but I wasn't going to be able to remember it all at once. So I was shown that. So it took time for this to unfold and come back. And that was part of the healing journey. And I was gradually able to, like, this has been many decades of, work, inner work, and remembering and wrestling with the egoic layers and wrestling with feelings of betrayal and outrage and unfairness and victimhood, and I got quite stuck in I got quite identified with the victim mindset and the trauma for quite a while, which I think is a pretty normal human process. So it took a long time to kind of chip away at that, and gradually the light shone through more and more, and just remembering more and more, and then embodying it and feeling it in my chest, just like I did in the NDE. So that became, that established itself more and more over time. And that was part of the challenge, was to be able to be here in body and bring that in and live from that state of being while here, embodied as best as I can. They were very, very profound experiences. I can say that I don't think I would be here if I hadn't had them. They saved me, because I felt I had no help in the circles I was forced to live in. So the help came from well, it's not from the other side even, it's just it came from source, or it came from the all that is, the great I amness that we're all part of. So yes, they were, and they continue to instruct me and help me to this day. And I've had other experiences since, just spontaneously, and I've seen the same light beings again. So there's been that help. So it's pretty amazing.
Wow. And thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure it's not easy to talk about your past.
It's not, but I think it's important.
Mm.
Um, these things happen in the world, and I'm not the only one that has been through stuff like this. So I think it's important to share.
Mm.
Yeah, especially what I learned in the NDEs, because it's so contrary to what so many people think or believe, because you just think, well, where's the justice then? Right.
Right.
And I was shown in another experience that I had just a couple of years ago, I was shown that the justice is in the healing. As I
Oh,
healed,
wow.
the justice came with the healing, and the healing was just returning to myself and remembering who I really am, and remembering who everyone really is, especially the ones who were so abusive and so darkened. It was remembering who they really are and separating the behaviors from the being, and knowing that underneath all those layers of darkness was that same light.
Mm.
And my dad just died a few weeks ago. He had medical assisted death. He was quite ill and at the end stages, and we were able to work a lot out near the end, and I was able to help him transition. I actually went partway with him, and
Wow.
so it was like a shared death experience, and I did that with my mom too. And it was interesting because my mom, in her death experience, everybody always looks about 30 years old. They look really young and just beautiful,
Mhm.
and light emanating from them, right? And she had in hers, it was like a big meadow with a stream, and all the people were coming to greet her, to take her home. And then there was these huge gates. They were massive.
Mm.
And I was like, gates, really? Like, she's like, it's my death. I get to have what I want. And that was the barrier that I couldn't go past. So they went on, but I couldn't go past that. But again, everything was without words. It was just conveyed
Mm.
instantly. But if I used words, that's what it would have been like. And for my dad, his receiving was like what he saw was a reception hall.
Wow.
So it was very interesting, the different things that people have, because it's very personal and unique
Mm.
per person. And so I got to experience like the beginning of their journey. So that was really profound too. And all there was just pure unconditional love. It was like all the other stuff was gone. So
Wow.
he had returned to his true self, which we had talked about for weeks before he died, because he kept telling me he was afraid he was going to the other place. And so I was sharing with him my experiences, and I said, that's not how it works. There's nothing waiting for you but love. You will remember who you are. You will remember everything. You will be shown why things happen, but not with judgment. There will be help for you to observe. And I just said, try not to be in fear and look away, because that's how people get stuck in loops,
Mm.
right? And he went right. He went right away. He didn't stop. He didn't. There was nothing. He didn't get caught with anything. And so it was good that we had all those weeks to discuss it. And he had asked me if I would go partway with him like I did with mom. And I said, I'll try. So was able to do that. But I've had those experiences all my life too, of seeing people who've passed on. And I thought everybody had that when I was a kid. Then I found out that that's not true. So I learned to not talk about it, right? Because it was considered weird, and sometimes it was considered evil. But I thought it was normal because I had it ever since I can remember. So it
Mhm.
was normal for me. And it actually, when I found my biological family, I learned that that mediumship ability was on the female side. All the females on our biological
Oh.
family side had this. And my birth mother had written me letters that I eventually got. And she explained that you will have the sight and don't be scared and stuff like that, right? So it was really something to find that out, because for me it was normal. So finding out it was on the family side was interesting.
It's absolutely amazing, and I think I said this to you last time we talked, that after everything that you went through, that your adoptive family put you through, that you and your adopted father were able to reconcile to the point where you actually helped him pass on. I can't imagine how much strength and healing that must have took on your part.
It was years and years and years and years of work, inner work, and very difficult, challenging work. Like I spent, it was years of flashbacks every day, nightmares every night, body memories. It was just, and I had to learn that these things weren't trying to hurt me. I finally understood that these things were trying to help me heal, and I had to not run from them. So I had to turn and face them. I would see demons like in dreams and be terrified. And I eventually learned to just see them and say, oh, hello, what are you here to show me? Because it was always about some kind of healing. It was some judgment I had against myself, or some conclusion I'd come to. The hurt, the harm didn't come from the things that were done. The harm was to the psyche. It was the things I believed about myself and the world and others and the universe. And it was the conclusions I'd come to. And a lot of times I was forced to come to those conclusions because it served the abuser's purposes to keep me down, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah. But so when I realized, throughout the healing, there would be insights and moments of, oh, that's what, and I had a very good trauma therapist and a very good life coach that were just, they were highly skilled, and they were just wonderful in helping me become embodied again, because I was very dissociated from all the abuse. Like I just left mentally because I just was, everything's dangerous. It's dangerous to be in a body. Life is dangerous. I just don't want to be here. So I was just mentally gone a lot, right? Which is a normal biological response for survival. So I had to learn and develop a window of tolerance for these uncomfortable feelings and the memories to come back, and just for all of the things that I'd been through to land, and for me to accept that this was my life, and accept it with the same level of acceptance I felt in the NDEs. I knew that was what I was to kind of go for, have that intention as best as I can. Of course, it's not always the case, right? So, but they still inform me, these
Mm.
experiences. So
Do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
No,
And if you're uncomfortable with anything, just let me know because I know a lot of these topics are really difficult and really hard topics.
that's fine.
Okay. I would like to thank Audible for sponsoring today's video and for offering a 30-day free trial to any of my viewers who sign up with the link in the description. My husband and I both love to read regularly as it helps us to expand both mentally and spiritually. But let's face it, between the busyness of kids and full-time careers and just enjoying life to the fullest, we very rarely have time to sit down and read a hard copy book. Audible is the perfect solution. For just $15 a month, we get a monthly credit to choose whatever we would like from the Audible library. The titles we choose are oftentimes valued at more than our monthly payment, and we get to keep everything in our Audible library to stream or download. I enjoy listening to audiobooks while I exercise or when winding down for bed. My husband enjoys them during breaks from work or on his days off, and our whole family enjoys them on road trips. In fact, we just recently took our kids on a 3-hour road trip, and we played Harry Potter from our Audible library in the car, and the kids had a blast. I never just have one book going at a time, so I am currently reading Feeling Good by David Burns, A Walk in the Physical by Christian Sundberg, and I recently finished The Blue Zones by Dan Buettner and Fiber Fueled by Dr. B. I'd like to invite you to visit audibletrial.com/lovecoveredlife, all lowercase, to get your free 30-day trial. You will have access to thousands of titles for download or stream, including an incredible selection of audiobooks from every genre, podcasts from popular favorites to exclusive new series, guided wellness programs, theatrical performances and comedy, and originals from top celebrities, renowned experts, and exciting new voices in audio. I'm only promoting this because I have used it for at least the last couple of years, and it has really enriched my life. If you think that Audible would also enrich your life, visit the link in my description, audibletrial.com/lovecoveredlife. Dive in and find something that inspires you, expands you, teaches you something new, or just helps you relax or makes you laugh. Thank you for listening.